Hey, what's going on, Summoners? My name is Nathan Ng, and we're going to be looking at the 5 champions that need reworks. There are a ton of outdated champions in the game at the moment, and some champions deserve some much needed love, whether it's a full-on update or just a nice visual fix. Riot has been fairly good at making sure that the recent reworks are top-notch, and that being said, we believe that these champions should be added to their list of reworks next season. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump right into the video. What is a rework? Before we can actually tackle what champions need a rework and why, we gotta understand what the term rework really means. Now, there have been a lot of small adjustments and the so-called mini reworks lately, but those don't really count when we look at the actual major reworks. Aurelia having her damage shifted around and Volibear having his kit redone are two very different things. Sure, they both affected playstyle and offer fairly big changes, but at the end of the day, Volley's rework was far more impressive as it introduced an entirely new model, new abilities, and overall a breath of fresh air while still maintaining the theme that Volibear had. Overall, there are quite a few adjustments made to champions, most recently Sona, that are called reworks. For the sake of this video, we're going to be talking about the complete overhauls of a champion's kit or ability that could either better their pick and ban rate or allow them to actually keep up with the meta that League has developed into. Sure, it'd be great if these reworks included visual updates, but for a lot of these champions, it's not needed, at least not a complete visual overhaul. But before we dive into our actual list of champions, don't forget to check us out at ProGuides.com where you can view our great catalog of coaches that can personally create a walkthrough to your dream rank. While you're there, be sure to explore around and take a look at our amazing subscription service so you can go ahead and watch exclusive videos by Core JJ, Xmithy, and so much more. Nonetheless, let's get back right into the video. Starting us off strong, we've got, believe it or not, Rise. Now, you know we can't make a list of reworks list without actually bringing in the absolute king of reworks himself. We all know that poor Rise has undergone the most reworks in the game, which has led him to have massive shifts in his playstyle and of course his play rate. That being said, even now Rise isn't in an awful spot, but he's been less than ideal. The biggest issue with him is that if he's actually ever a really good pick, he becomes S+ tier in pro play, as you're able to use him to his highest potential. With this in mind is what makes reworking Rise so difficult as they attempt to keep his running theme of being a mage that scales off of mana and uses high APM combos. Rise maintains some of the lowest play rates in the game at the moment since he's not only extremely difficult to utilize, but he's also a little bit lackluster. People that play him agree that he's a ton of fun because of his combos, and he offers a ton of versatile gameplay as well as even more versatile itemization options. That being said, it's simply not enough to make Rise popular in his current state. At best, Riot can look to rework his kit yet again into a more fluid burst mage that offers high-speed combos and decision making. This will make him more niche than a rapid burst mage that is easily replaced by champions like Anivia or LeBlanc. Just keep in mind that with this one, he's gone through a lot of different changes, and they seem all either to make him weak or just too strong, and right now, he's kind of in an okay spot. It would just be nice to finally have him placed into a nice and healthy position. Now, while we're on the topic of mid laners, we've got to mention how badly Aurelion Sol needs a rework. Stay with us, we know quite a few people are gonna disagree, but hear us out. And by a few people, I mean literally all 3 of you guys that play this champion. At the moment, Sol is in a fairly strong position as he holds a decently high win rate. That being said, it's mostly due to his extremely low play rate and roaming playstyle, meaning that it's pretty skewed. When we look at this champion as a whole, his base kit is kind of sporadic and is extremely difficult to use without actually being rewarding. Starting us off with his Q, it's a unique ability that honestly is pretty enjoyable. I mean, a star-wielding dragon creates a star that exponentially grows and explodes when you command it to. Now, when we compare how awesome that ability is to something like his W, you're gonna be a little bit disappointed. Yes, the concept of orbiting stars for Sol is honestly super unique and pretty creative. The biggest issue with this, however, is that it's simply not very practical, especially in the way that League works now. His stars deal quite a bit of damage, but in order to pull it off, you need to kite perfectly, and even then, it's a bit risky. His W offers a cast that will increase the range and the speed of his orbiting stars, so you can go ahead and deal damage with that, but aside from that, it doesn't really do anything. Not only do the stars not expand enough, but you have to play a minigame that involves you not getting close enough to get pulled or hit, which you will, and you also need to make sure that you hit them with the stars to deal decent DPS. His W single-handedly makes a champion difficult and borderline boring, as you don't really get rewarded for the position and instead have to constantly fight against mobile or CC-based champions, and you can always be sure that they'll be in engage range while you're just using your W. The rest of Sol's kit is pretty fine. His E, while a little bit random, makes him a powerful roaming champion that is perfectly fine to have. As for his ultimate, sure, it could change to match him a little bit better, but it overall fits the concept of him wanting to kite and play as a DPS mage, which means that he can actually keep enemies away from him. Although it would be nicer if he had a better disengage ability rather than having to use his ultimate for a one-time breakaway. At the moment, League is full of mobility and CC, which just makes wanting to play Sol way harder. If Riot could patch up his kit by making him more rewarding or offering a way to kite a little bit better, we think it could easily make him feel like a better champion and overall increase his play rate. Before we continue on with the video, don't think for a second that we've forgotten about everybody's favorite ProGuides tradition. For our question of the day, we want to know, what's one champion that you wish would get a rework or would have their rework reverted? Let us know your answers in the comments down below. Mine would probably have to be Graves. I really enjoyed playing him as an ADC way back in the day. Wow, I got that boomer tech. Nonetheless, let's get back into the video and take a look at our next champion. Pulling us back into the video, we've got one of the few marksmen made for the top lane, Quinn. This powerful laner is somebody that always caught the eye of many laners due to her unique kit when it comes to the top island. Alongside her decent range and great kiting power, she offers a Talon-esque playstyle as she's able to quickly traverse the map due to her ultimate. The issue with Quinn is that she seems to attempt to fill too many roles at once to the point where she doesn't even do that great at any of them anymore. League has simply outgrown her kit and she kind of feels outdated. While her overall concept and kit are really cool, we still think that she could use a fresh update to help her keep up with all the new tools and mobility added to League. I mean, can you imagine what Quinn could look like if Riot committed to making her a roaming assassin marksman rather than an odd combination of a split pusher, ranged top laner who occasionally roams and assassinates carries? Maybe it would look like Ukshin, because that guy's a roaming assassin marksman, right? He kind of does everything. I don't know. Maybe Riot could even push her to be more viable in the mid or the bot lane. Moving us towards a one-dimensional tank, we've got a classic with everybody's favorite walking mountain, Malphite. This beast of an armor pick is a pick that shines the best when enemies pick full AD. Malphite accomplishes all of the stat bonuses and scalings that you want to see in a tank. His abilities scale with his defenses and even has a built-in shield with his passive that innately scales with armor. These are the kinds of things that you want to see in tanks, not simply so they do more damage, but so that they can offer more scaling and utility. That being said, while Malphite does have an ideal image of what defensive scaling should look like, he still fails in similar areas to somebody like Cho'Gath does. Let's start off by looking at his laning phase. The entirety of Malphite's laning is his Q and maybe his E if somebody gets close enough. With the potential to take Arcane Comet, Malphite plays the entire laning phase like a game of spamming Q on the enemy until they lose enough HP to get all in. This is similar to somebody like the old Pantheon who would just run up to you and chuck spears at your head until you got low. Not only did this make laning as Malphite extremely boring, but it makes laning against him extremely obnoxious. And don't forget, if you try to trade with him, he'll most likely auto, E, and then Q you. Since his E slows your attack speed and Q steals your movement speed, you'll be stuck sitting in the laning phase as he just runs away. There's nothing wrong with the simple kit as it allows people to have an easy champion to play when they're auto-filled, but it does make these champions extremely boring and one-dimensional. Speaking of which, Malphite also somewhat fails the role of a tank and is instead an odd version of a one-trick pony who can only really engage once. As we previously stated, a tank should provide your team with either a lot of CC or utility alongside their inherently beefy stats. Well, at most, Malphite provides his team with a one-time engage ult and then, afterwards he can just slow the attack speed of those around him. Besides that, he doesn't really have CC nor utility. All tanks can slow attack speed or even reduce damage thanks to items like Randuin's and Frozen Heart, which means that it's not that special to Malphite anymore. Also, a lot of tanks offer a great engage tool, which means again, Malphite's ultimate isn't that special, but it still hits like a truck. The difference is other tanks like Ornn are able to engage a fight and then constantly harass the enemy with crowd control. It's great for Malphite to be an easy to play tank, but it doesn't mean that he has to be useless when compared to his peers when it comes to the same class. It'd be cool to see what Riot can do when they put more effort into a rock-wielding mountain. Before we move on, if you want to join an amazing community of people that loves lists, talk pieces, and other things such as this, check out the Discord using the link found in the description. What are you waiting for? Go ahead and join. Anyway, let's go ahead and get back into the video. Last but certainly not least, we've got ILLAOI. This incredibly unique bruiser has one of the coolest kits in the game, and this ironically is what makes her feel like she needs a rework. Yes, ILLAOI's technical mechanic is creative and honestly a little bit weird and kind of fun from a game perspective, but with all these new mobility and items in League of Legends, ILLAOI has slowly fallen out of favor. But before we dive into that, let's go ahead and take a look at how she suffers from a similar laning phase as Malphite. Sure, she does offer a little bit more interactivity as she can 1v2 the laner and jungler for some cool plays. However, at the base of it, her laning phase can be boiled down to her E. During the lane, ILLAOI is just looking to E her opponent and gain the HP advantage this way. It becomes a pretty repetitive cycle that just becomes annoying for anybody facing her and boring for people playing her. Not to mention that there is no other choice but to run away from ILLAOI when she takes her soul with her E. Before, if you were to pick a fight with her, you could actually benefit from trading with her when she took your soul, since it would reduce the time that your soul was exposed. With the removal of this mechanic, there's honestly no reason to trade with her at all, and you should instead just run away unless you can 100% kill her. Beyond this fairly boring laning phase, ILLAOI's ultimate can still remain one of the coolest things to witness, but it's also extremely easy to play against. If ILLAOI casts her ultimate, you can simply just walk away, and there's not really anything that you can do about it. She doesn't have any CC to keep you near her ultimate by any means, and she doesn't have a gap closer so she can keep up with you. Even if she did close the gap, when she moves away from her tentacles, you're not really in danger anymore. She has a really cool kit concept that provides a ton of outplay potential when you set up your tentacles, but beyond that, it's really not that great. It'd be cool to see Riot either rework her ultimate so that it slows people in the area, or if they were just to give her some kind of CC with her E. Honestly, they could completely rework it to make it feel like a bit more of an impactful ability rather than just having it be this weird one-shot range thing in the late game or a boring trading tool in the early game. Anyway, that sums up our video for today. Thank you guys so much for watching, and don't forget to join our ProGuides family at ProGuides.com. We offer exclusive giveaways and classes that you won't catch anywhere else, so stay tuned and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you guys in the next video, but don't forget, stay safe, stay healthy, and have a wonderful day. Peace.